Hi guys, Todd here. So Bloodborne's finally come out. Well, actually about a week ago, but that means I've had plenty of time to play it. How's it hold up? Is it Dark Souls 3? Let's find out. So Bloodborne might not share its name with its predecessors, but it absolutely had to meet the expectations of the Souls fanbase. And hey, we can be a very vocal fanbase. I do admit right off the bat that I am an enormous Dark Souls fan. I love Demon Souls as well. And hey, Dark Souls 2 was actually pretty good. I really enjoyed it, even though it wasn't the successor that Dark Souls deserved. Well, Bloodborne is absolutely the successor that Dark Souls deserved, even though it isn't technically Dark Souls 3. This game can be emotionally challenging and confusing. It will actually plague your mind long after you finish completing it, and believe it or not, that's a good thing. The new setting of Yharnam with its Victorian style architecture is absolutely fantastic. It's so very Dark Souls, and yet it's completely new and fresh at the same time, making you able to experience that excitement all over again for the very first time. It fills you with this sense of dread whilst always making you want to explore what's around the next corner. Bloodborne is once again very cryptic in terms of storytelling. It does actually introduce some exciting and challenging themes and addresses them in quite nice ways, but there's still very little in the way of outright exposition. So basically, if you enjoy the storytelling in Dark Souls, you're probably actually going to get even more out of Bloodborne. But if you didn't enjoy the unorthodox method in those previous games, then you're not going to find a whole lot more to love here in Bloodborne. In terms of visuals, Bloodborne looks absolutely fantastic. I honestly cannot believe they got this out of the PlayStation 4 hardware. It is the first game that has made me genuinely pleased that we have this new generation of consoles. The lighting, the textures, they all look absolutely fantastic. Audio doesn't stand out quite as much, but it's still pretty good. The ambient sound effects actually make me really afraid of seeing what might come up next. They fill you with this real sense of uneasiness. And what you might find up next is some pretty terrifying enemy designs. Now, while I do like these enemy designs on the whole, I do feel they're not as varied as they might have been or as awe-inspiring bosses as we had in Dark Souls 1. Now, as I said, the game does look fantastic. It does come at a bit of a price. The frame rate is 30 FPS, and for the most part, it actually stands up pretty well. I didn't encounter a huge number of problems there, but the loading times they're abominable. They really are very poor, especially on this new generation of hardware. But overall, it doesn't really impact on your enjoyment of the game. It doesn't take away from those positive aspects. It just is a real pity, and hopefully the upcoming patch will address that issue. Now, gameplay, and in particular combat, was always where Bloodborne was going to be either made or broken, and I'm pleased to say it is absolutely brilliant. It is very similar to Dark Souls, just as good, but it still feels completely new and fresh again. Even if you never use a shield in Dark Souls, you're still going to take a bit of time to get used to the new system in Bloodborne. It's much faster, it's much more frantic, combat's often described as a dance, and that's never been truer than this fast-paced acrobatic combat that you see in Bloodborne, yet it is definitely not slipped into the hack and slash button mash kind of system. Although blocking may be out, parrying is still present insofar as you can fire your offhand weapon, which is a firearm, into an attacking enemy to stun them and open them up for a visceral counterattack. Very similar to the parrying and riposte, or I never knew how to pronounce that word, that we had in Dark Souls 1 and 2. The only thing about the new combat system that I didn't like so much was actually the health regain system. It's not because it makes the game too easy or casual, far from it, it absolutely does not. It was more that I felt it was a bit wasted. I know it's trying to persuade us to fight more aggressively so that when we lose health we actually attack more to get it back, but health items are so abundant and so easy to come by that I never really found myself needing it. I always found it was much better and more tactically sound to back away once I got hurt and heal a la Dark Souls. So while it's a cool and neat system, it's kind of wasted and I never really found myself using it. The new trick weapons are really cool. There aren't actually that many of them compared to previous games in the series, but every single one of them is completely viable for an entire playthrough. Each of them has two different modes with its own set of moves, and you can actually switch between the two modes mid-combo, opening you up to all kinds of new possibilities. Okay, so difficulty. Like its predecessors, Bloodborne is very hard. How hard you find it will simply depend on your playstyle. Personally, I actually found it even harder than Dark Souls because I was the kind of player in Dark Souls who usually hid behind a shield and had very carefully timed strikes. I had to get used to the much faster and more aggressive style of combat. Just like the previous games, you can still lend help to each other and be helped in return by leaving messages to each other. You can also even summon in another player to help you with a particularly difficult boss battle, or completely ruin someone else's day with the new invasion system. The final new thing in Bloodborne is the Chalice dungeons, which are essentially mini co-op dungeons that are procedurally generated. I haven't really played around with these a whole lot. They seem like an interesting idea. Maybe From Software can build upon it in future releases. I rate this game an 8 out of 10. I would have loved to have given it a 9, but I just had to take into consideration some of those performance issues, as well as the fact that the storytelling method just wouldn't be for everybody. If you want to check out my full written review, I'm going to put a link to that in the description down here below, so you can check that out. Please like, subscribe, share, and all that other stuff that you guys like to do on YouTube, and enjoy Bloodborne, and I'll see you guys again next time. See ya.